A sly inmate placed a ball on the ground and took a hard shot. He put the ball down again, but another prisoner picked it up and started laughing. This made the first inmate furious, and he tried to get his ball back. However, two other prisoners tried to calm him down. After a while, police officers arrived and took the inmate away, locking him in a separate cell. But his behavior was strange. He took off his shoes and slowly stood in the corner of the wall. A little later, a police officer came for inspection. He peered in, but the inmate was nowhere to be seen. He opened the door and went inside to look. When he looked to his left, the inmate was standing there quietly. Seeing this, the police officer became very angry. He slapped him and warned him not to act like that again. But as soon as the officer left, the inmate started climbing the wall. There was a small ventilator at the top, which he grabbed. The officer came to check again. This time too, the inmate was gone. In a rage, he went inside and looked in the same corner, but the inmate wasn't there. When he looked up, the inmate was hanging from the vent. The officer got very angry and started beating him with sticks. He hit him hard and said he wouldn't tolerate it anymore. Then he left. But the inmate wasn't going to change. He took off his clothes and started practicing disappearing so the officer couldn't see him. A little later, the officer returned. This time, the inmate was again not visible. He went inside and saw only his clothes lying there. The officer looked around and up, but the inmate was nowhere. This was because the inmate was walking right behind the officer, just as he had practiced. The officer had no idea the inmate was behind him. He thought the inmate had truly disappeared. But then the officer's gaze fell to the floor, and he saw the inmate's shadow, which gave him away. The officer said sarcastically, "Wow, son, you have an amazing talent," and started beating him with sticks again. The inmate had now drawn an eye on his hand, as he was going to practice even more this time. A little later, the officer, who was very annoyed with him, came back. He went inside, but the inmate was gone again. He started searching for him here and there. Just then, the inmate put his hand on the officer's shoulder and punched him. The officer fell to the ground. The inmate then threw him out of the cell. The officer went back inside in a rage, but he was thrown out again. He became furious and went to call the other officers. A little later, some officers arrived and started taking him to a dark cell.